And next we have a speaker, Dr. Gargi Roy Goswami, founder and director, Kranos Private Limited, founder and director, Indian Academy for Clinical and Dental Genetics co-founder and chairman SALSI. Dr. Gargi Roy Goswami is an interdisciplinary oral healthcare professional, a genetics and a general dentist by profession, an academician by passion, a scientist by heart. She helps science enthusiasts to solve challenges they face in their journey through research. She is on a mission to help 1 lakh women achieve income in the area of online course creation through her online course creation income system. So here she's going to talk about the topic saliva in COVID-19 diagnostics, the new ray of hope. Here we go, Dr. Gargi Roy Goswami.
A very warm welcome to everyone. Today, I will be highlighting saliva diagnostics and COVID detection, swab to saliva, present advancements, and future perspective. Before I go into my presentation, I want to thank for this cordial invitation to the entire organizing committee of this scientific extravaganza. Thank you for giving this opportunity to me to present my thoughts in front of all of you. This is a summary of the discussion plan that today I will be highlighting. First, with the basics introduction to the saliva, we will try to understand that why exactly are we talking on saliva diagnostics today? What is the present status when it comes to saliva and detecting COVID-19? I will also highlight on the recent advances and show you some future industry statistics. Well then, many of us know that what saliva is. Saliva, that we commonly refer to as spit, is basically an extracellular fluid which is produced and secreted by the human salivary glands in our mouth. And if we can segregate salivary glands, there are two ways to do that. One is major salivary glands and minor salivary glands. The major salivary glands being parotid, sublingual, and submaxillary. Also, there are thousands or numerous minor salivary glands which are present in several parts of the mouth and the oral cavity, starting from labial, that is lips, palate, and so on and so forth. Well, that was something that we might all know. And let me just move on to tell about this magical fluid a bit more. In this slide, I will cover 3 things about saliva, which is really fascinating to know about this biological fluid. When it comes to composition, saliva is a fantastic biological fluid because it contains almost everything that you can see or that we know which is present inside the blood. It gives us an information about both the physiological and pathological condition or state of the human body. In humans, the saliva is almost 98% of water. Plus, there are organic and inorganic materials like you get cells, you get ions, you get dissolved gas, antimicrobial agents, so on and so forth. In our school biology, we already know, we have read a lot about digestive system, where I think we have come across the role of saliva. Basically, if you see this diagram, saliva has multi-functionalities. It's not only about taste, sensation, or digestion. The most important parameter for function of saliva is focused on its plethora or wide range of antimicrobial activity, like antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. So, in that way, we can make a statement that it is some kind of a gateway to the human system, and it is kind of a protector. If our mouth is the gateway to the system, then saliva is the primary defender, because this antimicrobial activity or the function that saliva has is wonderful to notice. It protects us from several bacterial infections, fungal infections, as well as viral. Well, it also has other properties, like it helps in the buffering action, it helps in the remineralization, and obviously lubrication, because we all know that when we secrete less saliva, how it feels like. Another important aspect which I want to highlight is about analysis. So, when we talk about diagnostics or any such or experimentation with a biological fluid, it is important that the analysis part should be kind of versatile. Now, if you see saliva as a biological fluid, when it comes to the detection or quantification of biomarkers, first of all, there's a plethora of biomarkers. I think we can use several methods, not only immunological methods, we can use separation methods, we can use electrochemical methods. So basically, saliva as a sample can be used for detection and quantification of biomarkers with almost all available technologies that we have in hand. So, to highlight saliva's composition, its multifunctionality, and its easier analysis, again, brings us to that point where we really need to look to this biofluid in a way it needs to be looked upon. Moving ahead, I just want to mention here about a recently authored book that I have written with my co-authors, Dr. Rujita Patil and Dr. Paul Desmond Sloy. This book, that is COVID-19 Detection Strategies, Swab to Saliva, is an attempt to create awareness in the scientific community about the global market of salivary diagnostics, and also to educate the promising futuristic role of saliva in the accurate diagnosis of COVID-19. This book is available on Amazon, and you can get both the Kindle version, that is the ebook version, as well as the paperback. Just a snapshot, so that which is very relevant to this topic of mine. There are 6 chapters where we have highlighted several aspects, right from starting from the basics. Then we covered a bit of the genetics of the virus. We also highlighted various principles or various methods and principles in this. So based on that, we also have listed out almost all the tests that are available worldwide. And the last chapter highlights the importance of saliva in COVID-19 diagnostics. It will also give you an idea about several saliva collection devices, saliva detection kits, and the future growth with saliva diagnostics for COVID-19 in general. Well, that was about our book, and I hope you will go and check it and find it very, very useful. Well, coming back to our conversation, why exactly we are talking about saliva diagnostics at all? So there are several reasons, but I thought the three most important reasons to highlight to choose saliva in COVID-19 diagnostics is definitely the ease to collect. It is very, very easy to collect. Second most important thing, it is non-invasive, right? Because we know that what a needle prick brings with it, it's not that pinch, but it's also the anxiety. And also, we do not need any trained professional like a phlebotomist or a healthcare professional to assist somebody to take saliva as a sample. That can be self-collected very, very easily. Also, if we compare then saliva diagnostics or collecting saliva and taking it as a sample for diagnosis is quite cost effective. And that brings us to the point that we can use saliva analysis or diagnostics for mass screening. And I think that is one of the most important thing when it comes to COVID-19 detection. Well, so let us understand that how SARS-CoV-2 enters saliva. Among the various pathways proposed, the three prominent pathways which I want to highlight is the first one is through the definitely from the respiratory tract. So secretions from upper and lower respiratory tracts can enter oral cavity. Then we have something called as GCF, that is gingival crevicular fluid. So gingival crevicular space is basically the small space, there's a small gap between the gums and the tooth. So the fluid present there is GCF or gingival crevicular fluid. From there also the viral particles enter saliva, and obviously the release of the release of virus and these particles from the major and minor salivary glands, which I mentioned before. To highlight some few more points that why saliva diagnostics, in particular perspective of what we are talking today, that is COVID-19 diagnosis. Well, the very good thing about saliva is that we can detect the virus early. So early diagnosis is the key with saliva, because it has been already proved in the literature that the virus can be found in saliva within 1 week of post-COVID-19 infection. So this means that even before somebody might have symptoms, or maybe in case of asymptomatic people, saliva would be a very good biological fluid to harness and diagnose about COVID-19. Second is more sensitivity. Saliva shows greater sensitivity to coronavirus detection compared to nasopharyngeal swabs, especially in the early course of infection. Third is better compliance. Yes, I think when we talk about children, when we talk about people who cannot come to the medical facility, and as well as the elderly people, taking saliva from them is much easier than asking for blood. I hope we all know that. Well, the present status of saliva-based COVID-19 tests, or what I want to highlight, is that both the research path and the companies that are coming up in by 2020 December, there has been immense publication. In 2019, it was only 2 papers on COVID saliva and COVID-19 diagnosis, but by December 2020, the number of publications rose to 200. So by this, we can imagine, and perhaps at this point, I'm talking almost a year back. So at this point, I think many more publications are happening. So that gives us a direct implication that how saliva is being looked upon as a very, very important entity all over the globe. Second is that there is an estimated number of around 300 to 500 companies who are working on COVID-19 testing kits, including different test formats, whether it is real-time PCR, whether it is antigen or antibody test, CRISPR, LAMP, whatever you can think. Everything can be done with saliva, and these companies are mushrooming every day. Also, I just want to mention that if you want to know about the several salivary COVID-19 tests which have been approved by the FDA, go back to our book, that is COVID-19 Detection Swab to Saliva. And in table number 4 of our book, we have provided a list of saliva-based COVID-19 tests developed on a global perspective. And we also highlighted and outlined the calendar of events about the exponential growth of salivary COVID-19 testing in 2020. Coming to the recent advances, well, a lot has happened with saliva. Saliva is not anymore collected, or we do not think of collecting saliva just like spitting into a tube, because the end product or the end reaction that we want to perform, for example, if I want to perform some experiment or analyze salivary DNA, or I want to analyze salivary protein markers, biomarkers, or maybe RNA biomarkers. So in each case, now at this point, we have specialized saliva collection devices. We have specialized devices for whole saliva collection, and some of them are pictured here. If you can see this kind of a funnel like thing, this is a device for which we can very easily collect whole saliva up to 2 ml. So that gives us for a good provision to collect saliva in a greater volume. This is something is a kind of absorbent pad and swab where we just put it inside the patient's mouth, and it helps us in collecting the saliva because this absorbent pad will get soaked. And also there is an indicator which changes color, because this gives us power to understand that how long should we keep that particular absorbent pad in the mouth of the subject or the patient. This is another saliva collection device which gives us information and helps us to collect DNA sample from the saliva as well as the buccal cells. So this is specialized only for salivary DNA collection. And also there are certain devices which we can use only for collecting saliva sample from very small children, kids, infants, because they are specially designed with a shorter absorbent pad. So basically, saliva collection tools today are present with which we can collect exosomes, RNA, DNA, cell-free DNA, hormones, anything we can think of. Now, I want to highlight the recent advances in the field of saliva diagnostics in COVID-19 detection. I will share with you a very interesting technology that is happening at Dr. David Wong's lab at the UCLA. They are using a technology called as EFORM, that is electric field induced release and measurement technology. What they are coming up is with a point of care device which can actually detect the viral load, the intensity of the infection, as well as the immunity. What is happening now that we have COVID-19 detection kits or tests available at different aspects, like whether it is RT-PCR separately or it is antigen test and other methods. So this COVID-19 IVI test, that is saliva COVID-19 infection, viral load and immunity test, is being developed as a one-point solution using saliva sample for detecting COVID-19. Another aspect which I want to highlight is there are several commercialized products which are also come up. Saliva is one of them, and it is a portable saliva-based COVID-19 testing device. You can check about it inside our interdisciplinary e-magazine Genomics. Our little endeavors to spread the news about saliva and other interdisciplinary research is through our interdisciplinary online free global e-magazine Genomics, where we highlight 4 to 5 areas primarily: dental genetics, saliva research and diagnostics, healthcare innovations, research shorts, and lifestyle disorders, as well as career growth tips. Apart from it, there are several sections for students to write in our magazine, faculty's corner, expert speak, and many things more. In this magazine, you can find about saliva, and the website is www.genomics.com. You can avail free subscription and download all the issues of Genomics which has been published in the last years. Another thing which I want to highlight is definitely about our annual conference, that is the International Saliva Summit of India, which we recently concluded in the month of January. We organized this conference, which is exclusively on saliva diagnostics, and each year we have separate themes. In this conference, we try to bring together all the global pioneers in the field of saliva diagnostics and research, where they share how saliva is used in different facets of disease diagnosis and development of technology. It's not only about COVID 19. Well, I invite all of you to the next International Saliva Summit of India, and we call it as SALSI next year, because this year we just concluded online, and hopefully by God's grace we can meet in person. Just highlighting some industry statistics on COVID-19 testing. There has been a growing market, and the growth is being seen at a CAGR of 9% per annum, which is kind of a very good figure. Also, independent sources indicate that saliva COVID-19 testing market could peak at 4 million testing units per day. So it's a very, very promising field, and the entire world is now looking into saliva as a sample for COVID-19 detection. I just want to also say that working with saliva is not new. It's almost 3 decades that scientists are exploring this biological fluid in different aspects of disease diagnosis, right from neurological disorders, biotoxicity, dental field, name anything, you can use saliva. So, coming to the concluding part, we can just hope for good days to come. No one knows how long COVID-19 pandemic will last. One thing it has taught us all is that we need to be vigilant and be on the lookout for new and emerging disease variants. The emergence of this particular pandemic has placed saliva specimen testing for multiple platforms in the limelight, and I hope that I have already showed you that perspective. As multiplex tests aimed at diagnosing COVID-19 and other infectious diseases come to market, we hope that saliva will have an exciting and major role to play. With that, I end my session and thank you for being a fantastic audience. And thank you for being here and giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge with you. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Gargi. Participants, Dr. Gargi's ID will be shared with you. For if you have any queries, you can post your queries. Same will be responded to back from Gargi via email.